Hello, and welcome to Addicted Like Us, a podcast discussing all things written by Krista and Becca Ritchie. I'm your host, Haley, and today I have Amelia, aka Amelia Ruth Reads, with me to talk about Addicted for Now, Book 3 in the Addicted series. I also want to mention that because this is a bigger book, this will be part 1 of the discussion for Addicted for Now, and it will be released on September 19th, Thursday, September 19th, and part 2 will be released the following week on September 24th, a week from the 19th, whatever date that is. But a quick recap, who am I? I'm Haley, a longtime reader and lover of Krista and Becca's work. I'm also a part-time illustrator, and I had the privilege of working on the special edition covers for the Leica series. Now, I just love to spend my time talking about all my favorite books, aka anything written by Krista and Becca. So the Addicted Like Us podcast was created so I can sit down with friends and discuss all our thoughts. So now I can introduce Amelia.
Hey, I'm Amelia. I first read Addicted to You the end of 2021, so like November time, I think. And since then I've nearly made it through their entire backlist. I'm kind of prolonging it ending because that sounds horrific to not have anything to look forward to.
That's fair.
Yeah. Lily specifically really resonated with me like immediately upon reading. But like throughout the series too, like Daisy really grew to mean a lot to me as well. But all of Krista and Becca's characters just feel so real and human to me, and I think that's what's so special about their books. Reading this series too, like in my 20s, has been such a privilege. It just feels so like comforting to have something with you. Like during this time period, like I've really just spent a lot of time growing and reflecting, and having these books has been really, really special. So I'm so happy to be here.
All right. So quick spoiler warning before we dive into this podcast. Massive spoiler warning for Addicted for Now. We're going to be doing a whole deep dive into the entire book. And if you have not read up to this book, you will be massively, massively spoiled. So come back after you've finished reading and enjoy this then. And then we have a quick recap of what happened in the past 2 books. So basically, the last couple, we had Addicted to You and Ricochet. In those books, we met Lily and Lo, 2 childhood best friends from 2 very wealthy families. And Lily is a sex addict and Lo is an alcoholic. And they've been battling these addictions for a very long time. In Ricochet, Lo decided that he was going to go to rehab, and he was at rehab for 3 months. And then Lily was working on remaining celibate and committed to being in a monogamous relationship with Lo while he was in rehab. So she wasn't able to have sex with him. Therefore, she was celibate for 3 months. And she was learning what her recovery would be like as a sex addict. Lo was doing the same in rehab. And Ricochet ended the day before Lo comes home from rehab. And we will be picking up with that in Addicted for Now. So the synopsis: he's addicted to booze, she's addicted to sex. Staying sober is only half the battle. No more sex. Those are the 3 words Lily Calloway fears the most. But Lauren Hale is determined to be with Lily without enabling her dangerous compulsions. With their new living situation, sleeping in the same bed, for real, together, Lily has new battles, like not jumping Lo's bones every night, not being consumed by sex and his body. Lauren plans to stay sober, to right all of his wrongs, so when someone threatens to expose Lily's secret to her family and the public, he promises that he'll do anything to protect her. But with old enemies surfacing, Lo has more at stake than his sobriety. They will torment Lily until Lo breaks, and his worst fear isn't relapsing. He fears the end. He sees it, the one thing that could change everything. Just 3 words: no more us. Okay, so now we can talk about Addicted for Now. So, like I said in that recap, Addicted for Now picks up the following day from the end of Ricochet, and Lily is trying to get home from the lady doctor so that she can see Lo. She wants to actually be home when he gets home to greet him, and she's running late. She's stuck in traffic. and she's kind of disappointed about that fact. But like when she finally does, there's like, it's just this moment that you've been waiting for since the end of Addicted to You, and Lo walks out onto the porch and sees her, and you're like, oh, I'm so happy they're back together in person again. This makes my heart happy.
No, it's so rewarding too, and just like that added anxiety of her being late and like prolonging, and I'm like, just give us them already. Like, it's so hard to read.
Yeah, we've been through an entire book of them being separate. We don't need to. Let's just start chapter 1. They're together.
Yes.
We don't need to give this added stress. But yeah, so it's, I don't know, it's just like a super emotional moment just seeing the two of them together, and they have sex. But immediately after that, they get this anonymous text from someone saying that they know Lily's secret, that she's a sex addict, and they have no idea who this is. And it's just like, it's kind of your worst, we're starting off the book strong with all of this anxiety. Like, we were stressed because Lily's late, and we're waiting for her to finally be with Lo, and they're finally together, and then it's like, ooh, but you've got this now. And I don't know, like, we've spent the past couple of books with her and Lo being so careful about not sharing her secret. Like, his alcoholism is kind of, everyone knew that he was in rehab. Even Daisy's friends, they mentioned it in Ricochet that he was in rehab. So his was something that everyone just kind of understood. Oh, he's another rich kid. But like, Lily's is something that not a lot of people would understand. You kind of like, with them keeping the secret for the past couple of books, like, I start to understand, yeah, nobody's going to understand what it is for Lily to be a sex addict and the judgment that she'd face. And so all of a sudden we get this anonymous text of like, I know what your secret is. I know you're a sex addict, and I'm threatening to like expose it to everybody. And it's just like, oh my God. No.
No,
I don't like this.
100%. And like it being right off the bat in chapter 1 too, and like having it hang over you for the entirety of the book, and then like it'll just like another text will pop up and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is still happening. Like you kind of forget about it. And then
Yeah.
it shows up again, and it's like, oh my gosh, like it's so much anxiety, and this is so classic Lily and Lo. Like they're happy one minute, and then immediately the other shoe drops, and it's like, oh gosh.
Can't they have just one happy, like, yeah, it's at this point they can't have this moment of peace. They, like, we thought they had a moment of peace, but this book reminds us that no, there's always something like waiting in the corner for them at this point, and we get a couple of pages of happiness, and then it's right back to
Exactly. But it does make you like cherish those few pages where they're really happy. It's like, oh, like this was really nice.
oh yeah. Okay, so then we get to chapter 2, which is a very exciting chapter.
Yes, it's Lo's first POV chapter, and at this point, like you've read 2 books, like because the first 2 books are only Lily's POV, and like I remember reading it for the first time and just so anxiously awaiting to like be in Lo's head, and it's such an exciting moment when you do finally get there.
Oh yeah, one thing that I really love about Krista and Becca's writing is just how unique all of their characters are. Like, when they are speaking out loud, but also their inner dialogue too. Their thoughts are just, they're very unique to each character. And hearing what Lo is actually thinking about a lot of the times, like, I wanted to know what was going on in his brain a lot, and finally we get that moment.
No, they all have such a distinct voice, and I feel like sometimes, like, reading other books where it's, like, dual POV, like, if I'm not reading the character's chapter at the top, like, sometimes I'm like, who is this? But, like, Krista and Becca, that's never the case. Like, if they didn't say who it was, I would immediately be able to pick it up, and I think that that's such, like, a gift and a strength that they have.
Oh, for sure. I mentioned this not in a podcast, but I was talking about this with somebody, and I won't say the author. I don't want to call out any specific authors, but there are a couple that have, like, they don't I don't think they necessarily write series. They're
Mhm.
more just standalones, but a lot of the times their characters, like if you read them all at once, back to back to back, some of the characters start to blend, and
Mhm.
it's like I could take this female main character from this book and insert her into this other standalone, and she's
Mhm.
basically the same person. And I never get that sense with Krista and Becca's books. Like they're just so different, and they're different from other characters that I've read in other books, and they're just different from each other, despite the fact that there are so many at this point.
I know, and like even when you think about that too, like they have so many books at this point, but like this being like their like third book, like that's crazy that like from the beginning, like these characters are still so new, like we're still learning so much about them, but the fact that they already knew like they wanted them to have like this distinct voice and personality and were able to execute that, it's so amazing.
Props to them. There's a reason I enjoy their writing so much.
Yes.
Okay, but so in this chapter with Lo, it kicks off like this book just goes. So we get the anonymous text, and immediately it's Lo and Reich going to Aaron Wells's house, who we met in Ricochet. He was the date that was tormenting Lily at the Fizzle Gala. Since he's like this known enemy of Lily and Lo, and there's this anonymous texter, they like he's immediately assuming that like this is some guy from her past, and he's popped up recently. No, he could be the problem. So he like goes to Aaron and is threatening him, and I think it's interesting to like one seeing Lo interacting with these characters, like with people from his point of view, but also it's the first time that we get to see Lo and Reich's like relationship from Lo's point of view instead of like from the outside looking in from Lily's point of view. And I think that's interesting, starting to see like what kind of brotherly bonds these two have.
Right, and just seeing like how differently they handle situations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of brought up in Ricochet a little bit that Reich fights with his fists and Lo fights with his words, and I think we kind of see that a little bit with this book, in this chapter particularly, that
Mhm.
like Lo is bringing down Aaron's sister as like like you're gonna stand here. I want you as the collateral in case Aaron tries to do something. You're gonna be here to, and he doesn't fight physically, but he knows how to find someone's weak point.
Right, and even bringing down his sister, like that would be the last thing that Reich would do in any situation like that, like
Oh,
involving a woman. Like
oh, for
it's
sure.
crazy.
Reich would be definitely not. No women will be hurt in this process at all. Keep her far away. Oh yeah, that
Literally,
is
and
definitely not a Reich move.
he's immediately like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah. No. Yeah. So then we get into the next chapter, where Lily and Lo are basically bringing everyone into the loop. So I didn't mention it in the recap, but at this point, the people that know that Lily is a sex addict are Lily and Lo, Lo's half brother Reich, Lily's older sister Rose, and Rose's boyfriend Connor. Those are the only people that know that she's a sex addict, and also Lily's therapist, Dr. Banning. So they're not telling Dr. Banning, but they tell everybody else, like, listen, there's this anonymous texter, and I love this because like it's Lily and Lo had kept the secret for so long, and then all of a sudden in the last couple of books was when Reich found out, when Rose found out, when Connor found out, when all of these outside people suddenly found out. And then immediately after, Lily's secret is suddenly being threatened. So it's like, okay, I don't know about you guys, but you guys seem to be the weak links here. What's going on? And Lily's
Mhm.
interrogating Reich, and she's like, who says he can get water? Don't give him any sustenance.
She's so cute, but it's like true. It's like a domino effect. Like they tell one person, like all this stuff keeps happening. I'd be like, shoot, like maybe we shouldn't have told anyone.
Yeah, I know. Like, it was probably unhealthy for us to keep this secret, but like, I kind of regret telling you a little bit just because we've created this whole massive mess now.
Literally.
But yeah, I love, like, I'm just imagining Lily with the light shining on Reich being like,
No.
talk. You are my prisoner at the moment, and you need to start confessing.
And the fact that he just lets her, like, he's not intimidated by her at all, but he's like, okay. Like, just
Yeah,
let her do what she needs to
like
do.
what the? Yeah, he's used to Lily's antics at this point.
Yes.
I don't think he's known her for that long. I think it hasn't been a year, but he's just
No.
like, he's spent enough time with her that he's like, yeah, this is Lily's thing.
Yes.
She doesn't like me. She kind of doesn't trust me a little bit. Like, whatever, fine.
Fine.
But yeah, so this is the bit where, I don't know. This is in a lot of the books, but it's Lily, like, one of the things that I love about these books is we get them. I say this in every podcast, but we see the main story between Lily and Lo and that main love story, but we always get these incredible, like, side character moments throughout the book, and this is one of those moments where Lily's just like admiring Rose and Connor and their flirt banter, and I think this is the first time that she calls them nerd stars.
Yes. Marked that when I was reading that.
They're two nerd stars orbiting each other. I love it. It's like, I love seeing the very first, like, we will be hearing Lily refer to them as the nerd stars for a very long time to come, and I love hearing it for the first time, just being like, oh, yay.
I was like giggling, kicking my feet. I'm like, yes, they are.
But so basically they decide that they're going to have a PI look at things, and they need to come up with a bunch of potential enemies for Lily and Lo. And I also think it's interesting in this chapter because we see a little bit of, like, Reich and Rose butting heads with, like, you can see how invested they are in Lily and Lo's recoveries now that they're both living together. Like, they're the older siblings, and they take their older sibling roles pretty seriously and don't want their siblings to be hurt. So it's like, listen, now that you guys are living together, I want to be involved. I'm going to be that nosy sibling that's butting into your business. Even if you don't want me in your business, I want to know about it. And
that's like
on the one hand, I like it because it's like, oh, I love the siblings, but I also feel for Lily and Lo, where it's like, this is our private sex life, and like, do I really want, like, I'm sure Lily's like, I don't want Lo's brother to know about this, and I know Lo's over here like, I don't want Lily's sister knowing about my sex life, like, stay out of it. But the two of them are just so invested in their siblings.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, I don't care.
Especially for Lo too, like, having grown up thinking that he was an only child, and then, like, now you have this older brother who's so invested in your life, and it's like,
yeah,
adjusting, and now you're like having to share everything.
Yeah, I can imagine that being quite the adjustment, especially because even, yeah, he didn't have a sibling, and then his parental figure was not really any better, any more invested in his welfare and his business. So yeah, it's just like a complete kind of change for him to get used to. And yeah, so he has to get used to it from Reich's point of view. Like, listen, I've known about you for only a couple of months at this point, and I'm still trying to get used to that. And I've got Rose on the other side. Like, I don't want either of you in my business.
Like, arguably Rose being his, like, least favorite person.
Yeah. Poor Lil. Yeah, so then the next chapter is Lily and Lo sleeping in the same bed. Like, this was kind of something that kept getting brought up in Ricochet, and at the beginning, like, Lily and Lo had been pretending for so long. They lived together, but they weren't in the same room, in the same bed, being an actual couple. So this is like the first time that they're actually trying to do that. And it's really hard for poor Lily. And Lo calls it like, it's the equivalent of Lo curling up with a bottle of alcohol at night. What it is for Lily to sleep with, actually just go to sleep with Lo, and it's really hard for her.
But I think it's also so, like, obviously it's horrific that they're both going through this, but the fact that he is able to understand what she's going through and relate it to his own addiction, like, on such, like, a personal level, like, I think is, like, you know what I mean? Like, he's like,
Yeah,
okay, like, I totally understand what you're feeling right now.
yeah, I think it's a good point because a lot of what has been brought up so far is the fact that Lily and Lo are both addicts and they're codependent. And it's like, should two addicts really be together? But there are benefits to it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Lo can fully empathize with the struggle that Lily is going through. And I mean, he's the one that loves her the most. And he will be like, he'd be the person to fight for her and make sure that she's going to be okay and he will take care of her if she's struggling. So he would be it's good that he's gone through this before and can help her. And there's a line in that chapter that I really liked, which is you just have to believe that you'll be strong in the end, even if the middle is all fucked up, which yeah, it's a good reminder that like they've got a ways to go with their recovery, but it'll work out for them. They are strong enough. They
Yeah.
just have to push through. They're definitely not at a point where they you could say they're fully healed. Like they're absolutely still in a recovery phase. But they're strong enough to push through it. And the next chapter kind of blends into this with Lily is struggling and she like tries to get herself off and she's just struggling with her compulsions, and I feel so bad because there's a point where Lily's like I think Lo says I love you or something, and she's like, I just don't have a lot of love for myself right now.
It's so hard to read, especially because I just like feel so much of how she feels, and it's like reading, it's so hard. It's so
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, because I can't remember if it's in which chapters it actually happens, but like Lo's recovery does look different than hers in that he just needs to cut out alcohol, and he did that immediately starting with rehab. And yeah, now he has to go out into the real world and kind of practice resisting having or like going out to get a drink. But for Lily, it was, I don't know. For Lily, it was like, yeah, stay celibate. And now, like, they just completely removed everything. But now, not only is it like real world, but you're going to be like right up and personal with what your addiction is, and you need to learn how to overcome it. And that's got to be really hard for her. Like,
Yeah.
she was kind of getting used to this new way of living with her addiction, and now it's just, I feel like this step would be the harder step for her.
I completely agree. And that's something that's brought up like multiple times like through this book and just like as the series goes on too. Like it's so different because like it's not, like sex is like a normal part of life. And so having to like
Right.
just remove the compulsion from it and like learning how to do it in a healthy way. I
Yeah.
can imagine it's so difficult.
So it's these first couple of chapters are really hard for poor Lily, and I feel for her. And so we get into the next chapter, and Lo is going for a run to kind of distract himself because he really needs a drink. Yeah. And you kind of mentioned in your notes that this is like another good chapter for Reich and Lo.
Because Reich is just trying his best to be there for Lo, and you just really see how complex their relationship is because Reich is trying so hard to be this brother, and Lo, I think at this point, is still so resistant to the fact that he even has a brother.
Oh
That
yeah.
he's like, you're saying you're this brother figure, you're saying you want to help me, but like, I don't believe that. Like, why would you want to help me? Like, you don't know me.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting because at first it was, okay, Reich, you're a stranger to me, and I don't trust you. I have zero idea why you'd ever want to help me. And then he finds out that Reich is his half brother, and that the whole relationship dynamic was that Reich's parents were married. Reich's parents are Jonathan and Sarah Hale. And then Jonathan cheated on Sarah right after Sarah had Reich and got another woman pregnant with Lo. And Sarah and Jonathan divorced. And Sarah was never able to share the fact that Reich was her child. She had to keep him secret, which meant that like Reich had to live in secret, that he had to grow up with two parents that were very mad at each other. And Lo kind of understands that at this point, and he's still like, why do you want to help me? Like, my existence, I feel like, would ruin your life. I still don't trust why you're so invested, because you should hate me.
Right.
I'm the reason your parents aren't together.
No, 100%.
It's very interesting to see their dynamic. But yeah, so Lo is kind of sassy. They meet a couple of girls on the track field, and Lo is just so mean.
He's so mean. He's such an ass. Like, I was reading so many times and like out loud, I'm like, you're such an ass. Like, just stop.
Yeah.
But, like, we love him.
Yeah, he is a lovable asshole, but also sometimes it's just like, oh,
Right,
Lo.
just stop talking. Inside thoughts.
Yeah, the intrusive thoughts win.
Literally, like, I can imagine Lily being there, just like punching his arm, being like, stop.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I could see that. But yeah, so then also in this chapter we get the first mention of antabuse, which we will hear a lot more of, but that's the drug. It's a pill that Lo will take, and if he drinks alcohol, it will cause him to severely throw up. So it's supposed to help him try, and it's supposed to be like this fail safe. Like, you know, you're taking this, so you won't want to drink because you will feel like crap. And it's also, also in this chapter, we talk about, this is like the first time that we hear Lo's thoughts on why he wanted to quit drinking in the first place, which was in Addicted to You, when Lily, a bunch of them were out at a club, and Lily was assaulted in the bathroom, and Reich and Connor had to rescue her from this guy because Lo was so drunk he was incapacitated at this point and couldn't do anything. And that's not the kind of person that Lo wants to be.
I think the one thing like he can pride himself on and feels good about himself about is like he is always there for Lily, and it's like imagining in that moment, like that's the one thing he's so proud of himself for, and he wasn't in that moment. Like, yeah, it's heartbreaking.
It's so heartbreaking. Yeah, because I think a lot of the times it was, alcohol and sex were their number one priorities, and that Lily and Lo like came second for each other, but they weren't necessarily in any kind of position where they really, really needed to prioritize one over the other. And then we get this instance of, no, Lo definitely should have been prioritizing Lily at that point, and he didn't. And it, like, that's one of his big regrets. And that was his rock bottom of, I need to be there for Lily. That was his reminder that no, alcohol can't be number one. Yeah. Lily has to be number one. I want to make her number one. So I think it's very interesting to hear him talk about that from his perspective. And then we also hear Reich remind Lo that he should stay away from Jonathan because Jonathan is kind of the big trigger for Lo to drink. He's not the best dad. He's a complex dad, but he is. It's mentioned in Ricochet a little bit that Jonathan is a touchy subject for Lo.
Yeah, and just like Lo and Reich's difference of opinions on him too, like that will kind of come to a catalyst like later on in the book. But I think it's so hard for them to like see eye to eye because I don't think they can. You know,
no.
Like, Lo grew up with him, and Reich grew up like resenting him.
Yes. They grew up very different and had very different relationships with their dad. And yeah, you're right. We'll see more of it discussed, not only in this book, but like it's something throughout that will series, continue to be brought up because just very different. So the next chapter we meet Sebastian, who is Rose's best friend. And
it's literally the word.
Yeah. I have thoughts on, so Lily is studying Stats, not stat. Thank you, Sebastian, for the lesson. But yeah, so Lily is failing her stats class and hires Sebastian as her tutor. And basically, he is not really going to tutor her. He's just going to give her all of the old exams because she's taking a professor that basically recycles old questions. So all she has to do is memorize the answers to all of the questions, and she'll be golden. And like, not helpful, but he's trying to encourage her that she's gonna like cheat the system, like she can cheat the system, and that just makes her smarter.
And he hates Connor.
Yes.
Basically, in his mind, he's taking Rose away from him, and so that was like a big part of it too. Like Rose was like, "Oh, Sebastian can tutor you," and Lily's like, "I don't really want him to. Like, please give me Connor."
Yeah, Connor was my OG tutor, and he did a great job. And yeah, I think it was like Connor was busy, and also she's at Princeton now. So
Yeah.
Lily had been attending Penn in Philadelphia. And then I think it was Ricochet. I think that's when it was.
Because at the end when she moved in with Rose.
Yeah, she moves in with Rose. Yeah. And she transfers to Princeton. So she's at Princeton, so it's like it's harder for Connor to tutor her anyway. But yeah, yes, Sebastian does not like Connor for like numerous reasons. I think one of them that's mentioned is like Sebastian used to be Rose's stand-in date.
Mm-hmm.
He's gay, but Rose would use him as her date for a lot of things and bring him like for different Callaway functions. And so he got to ride the coattails of that, and now Connor gets to like benefit from all of that, and he doesn't like that.
Sebastian is someone who's very concerned with status too. Like he makes the comment about Lily's watch, and so it's like do you remember that?
Yes,
he's like,
right. She has like the watch that comes from the little like the little vending machine. He's like, who made that?
And he's like, is it a collectible? And she's like, it's Wolverine.
It's Wolverine. I just really like it. Yes, he definitely values status, and he does not like that Connor's kind of kicking him out. So one of the things that also happens is I can't remember exactly how it happened, but like it comes up that he doesn't like Connor, and Lily wants to be like, well, I like Connor and I like Rose and Connor together, and what's stopping me from telling Rose that you're trying to sabotage her relationship with Connor? And Sebastian's like, oh, well, you're cheating with these tests. Like in Rose's eyes and Connor's eyes, you're kind of cheating right now, so you can't tell them about it. And she's like, well, yeah, I do really want to pass these tests.
Blackmails her so fast, and she doesn't even see it. It's like whiplash.
I know, poor Lily. She's like, I just wanted to be tutored. Like all I was asking for was help, and now I'm in this situation. But like I do love, she has this firm belief in Rose and Connor. She's like, Connor can take care of himself. Like maybe he doesn't need little me to help him. So yeah, so she's gonna stay quiet, and this kind of bleeds into the next chapter where Lo and Rose are driving home at the same time that Lily is being tutored, and Lo is continuing to get messages from this unknown texter, so it hasn't stopped at this point. And they pull up to the house at their gate, and Rose and Connor got in another fight. This is something that has been mentioned in Ricochet, that Rose and Connor are super on and off. And it was in the chapter where they were all together, talking about the fact that bringing everyone up to speed about the unknown texter, that Connor knew that Lo was an alcoholic before it was really like a known thing, and he admits to buying Lo beer knowing that he was an alcoholic, and Reich is mad about it because like that's Reich's whole thing from the very beginning was Lo is an alcoholic, do not give him any more alcohol, and Rose kind of agrees with Reich, and so they're kind of mad at Connor for kind of enabling Lo at that point. And so Rose and Connor are in a fight at this point. And he left her flowers at the gate. And she picks up this vase of flowers and just destroys them. I was like, what the fuck?
Well, no, my favorite part about it, she's like, well, we should keep the vase. Like, that's really nice china.
Oh yeah, this is beautiful crystal right here, and I can't get rid of that. Yeah, they come in and she's like, it's Lalique. And it's like, what is that? And only Rose Calloway would have a favorite brand of crystal.
Only Connor Cobalt would know what her favorite brand of crystal is. Like,
yeah, just like one of those moments of, oh yeah, they are perfect for each other. Yeah, so but like leading back to that talk of Connor and that fight is like Lo tries to defend him too to Rose, and it's this moment of we see what Connor's friendship has kind of meant for Lo. He says, I don't know if I would be here if he didn't find a way to enter my life and Lily's. He was the first non-judgmental person that I could withstand to be around. He never looked at me like I was fucked up, even if he was probably thinking it. I liked having him as a friend. It's just like, I mean, we kind of like, again, because we have Lo's perspective, now we can see what the full extent of their friendship is. I don't think Lily would call him a friend for sure, but he's a guy friend, so their friendship is a little different. So it's I like seeing what Lo.
Yeah. And I think too, like from Connor's perspective, like from like buying him beer and stuff, like that was so early on in their friendship that Connor's not the kind of person like that early on. Like if he's not fully invested, he's like, okay, like why would I not like? Yeah, he knows he has a problem, but he's like, that's not my place.
Right. Yeah. Connor's just he's got his very unique way of thinking and moving about with different people. And yeah, it's just like one of those instances of I don't know if I'm quite in that place where I can tell Lo that he should stop. And it's something that kind of it'll get brought up a little more in later books of how Connor treats Lo versus how Reich treats Lo when it comes to his addiction and what the two of them think Lo needs from each person. Yeah, so then we go into that chapter where Rose is like, this is my favorite brand of crystal, and I think this is also like one of the first moments. I was trying to look it up. One of the first moments where we see the two of them speaking in French with each other, which just becomes a whole Rose and Connor Cobalt thing. Yeah. And again, I just love seeing the very beginning bits of this
later in the bonus scene too. But there's a moment in the bonus scene where they're speaking in French, and I was like
yeah,
oh god.
I was thinking about it to myself because I was reading through the bonus scene right before we started recording.
Yeah, I did it last
night. And I was looking through some of the French parts that they're saying, trying to say it out loud. And I'm probably going to say that at like a certain point in this, and I will apologize to all of anybody who speaks French, because I know you're going to speak French better than me, but like the only French I know is from these books. And listening to the audio narrators and how they pronounce all of the French words. This is where I learned my language skill.
Learning French from Krista and Becca Ritchie.
Yeah. Thank you, Kobolds.
Thank you.
And then also in this chapter, Lo asks Rose if he can model for her, because one of the things that was that Lo at the end of Addicted to You, because he flunked out of Penn and decided to go to rehab, Jonathan has cut him off from his trust fund. So Lo has no money at this point, and Reich had to help him pay for rehab. And now Lo is living with Lily and Rose in the Princeton house, and he's got to help contribute to that living arrangement, and he's got no money. He's jobless. and not in school. So he asks Rose if he can model for her at Callaway Couture.
And I love that Rose is so willing too. She's like, of course.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
even though like they don't see eye to eye, she's like would still do like anything to help him, because in helping him, she's helping Lily.
Yeah. And there's also a moment in this chapter, it's like a tiny little thing, but like Lo says something rude to Rose, and you can see that she's kind of affected by it, and Connor also notices, and he grabs her and like holds her a little tighter, and I was like,
yeah, I literally can't handle it. Like,
it's like all of these teeny tiny little micro moments of these side characters that I'm like, yes, give me all the crumbs. I love this. Connor just tightens his arm, and I'm like, hard eyes. Yes, I love it.
Literally. Connor breathes. Hard eyes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So then the next chapter, Lily and Lo are going through their yearbook and trying to figure out who they have as potential enemies. And it's basically coming back that they did not get along with a lot of people. But one of the things that they also talk about really fast is this idea of they were looking at all of the people that they went to school with and being like, oh my God, they're graduating, they're getting married, and they're having babies. And like, is that what our future is going to look like? And Lo kind of brings up that like, we're addicts. And I don't know if that's such a good idea for us to have kids. And it's really, really brief, but I still feel like it's really important because it's like laying that groundwork of what they're where their headspace is at when it comes to their future.
Yeah, and the discussion of children too is something that's gonna play like huge parts in coming books too. So like upon this reread, when this like moment came up, I was like, oh, like just like my like heart sinks. So I'm like this, like they truly believe that like they're not worthy of this life.
No,
it hurts.
Yeah, it hurts. But then you have to. But then you like sit there, and I'm looking up right there, and I'm like, it's okay. I know what's happening. I know what's gonna happen. You just have to push through this. Yeah, you just have to push through this bad headspace that they're in right now. Let them keep growing, and then it'll get better. But and so then next chapter at Callaway Couture, Lily is working. She's like, I love it. I think there's one point where Lily, like, very proudly is like, I'm Rose's numero uno bitch. And she says it so proudly, and Lo's like, she's so cute.
The one-liners, and I'm like, yes, go girl.
Yes, I love her. But, like, the big thing was that this is the same time, well, this is the same day that the male models are coming for this, like, shoot at Callaway Couture, and it was Lily was meant to stay away from them because obviously she's a sex addict and like just keep her away from that kind of temptation right now. And all of the models start showing up, and Lily's like, why are all of these men here, and where is my man and my sister? Something's wrong here. And
of course they're running late, like obviously.
Yeah, of course. And Lily does like a very Lily move, and she crawls under her desk to hide.
Honestly, I was like, I feel you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I might do that too. The little introvert in me would probably be like, well, this is as good a hidey hole as any other place. Yeah. And it's really fast too, but we meet a model, and his name is Julian. And this is like the only time we see him in this book, but he's important, and it's important to note that we meet Julian. The end.
That was something too when I was rereading. I'm like, shit, they're so smart. Like, they bring these people in, like, I'm like, how does your mind work like that?
Oh, yeah. I'm sitting here like, because I think it was brought up in a podcast or some questionnaire of, was the Julian in Addicted for Now the Julian that we see later on? And it was like, yeah, that's him.
Oh, because I did a double take. I'm like, hang on.
I didn't think I'd see his name so early, but there he is. Yeah, so then Lo does eventually show up with Rose. They were running late, but Lily is still feeling really compulsive, and she's struggling. So she goes into the bathroom, and she's like feeling compulsive, and she almost does it, but doesn't. And Lo busts into the bathroom right as she's about to, and it like looks really bad for her. And I feel so bad for her because, again, she's she's struggling right now. And like, God, Lo busting into the bathroom, like barely waiting to even let her know who it is. She didn't know it was Lo at first, but they talk about like why it's, yeah, this was a moment of why it's so hard for her to not touch herself, not have sex now, because Lo is with her and around her, and it's this easier access to her addiction, and she didn't have that when he was at rehab. So
like she's there at a rock bottom and is feeling compulsive, and then her vice just like walks right into her face.
Yeah.
It's
So it's just so hard for her. And they almost have sex, and Lo stops them, and it's kind of that mention of her blacklist, because in Ricochet, Dr. Banning gave her a blacklist of all of the things that she should avoid while she's recovering from sex. And we don't know what is on this blacklist. She was guided by Dr. Banning to give it to Lo without opening it, because it's like this, you won't want what you like, you'll want what you can't have, so it's just a better headspace for you to be in if you don't know what's on that list. So Lo knows what's on the list, but she doesn't, and they decide to stop. So it's kind of like that, okay, well, seems like a public space, so maybe public sex is kind of on her blacklist. And Lo feels bad because he's like about to mess with her addiction, like he was about to break her blacklist, and she doesn't know. So he's kind of that one that's in charge of making sure that she sticks to it, and he almost let her slip, and that would have been on him. Mm-hmm. So it's like this horrible cycle where she's struggling and he almost gives in to like help her not struggle, but at the same time that would cause her to backslide, and that makes him feel guilty, and then that makes him want to drink, and like, oh God.
No, it's like this huge back and forth, and it's like hard for him too, like to have to like rewire, be like, okay, like I can't treat this the same way I've always been treating it.
Yeah. So then they decide that Lily's gonna hold out for a little bit longer. She will wait. Like, she shows some strength, which I'm proud of her for, and they'll wait until they go home to have sex. But like, Lo's gonna leave, or I can't remember if Lo decides that he's gonna leave, but he goes to find Rose at the very least.
Yeah, they were gonna go home, I think.
Yeah. Yes, that's
he's
right.
like, wait until we get home.
Yeah. But yeah, so Lo goes to find Rose and accidentally hears a conversation that she has with her mom, which, yeah, I don't like you, Samantha.
Who's the worst? Tomatoes. All the tomatoes for Samantha.
Yes.
But it's a moment where you see how loyal Rose is to Lily, like through everything. Like, does not even entertain the things Samantha's saying.
Yeah.
She's like, I have it covered. Like,
it's fine.
Not your business.
Right. Like, this is my business, and yeah, you kind of helped me get it off the ground, but like, I know what I'm doing, and you can stop telling me what to do. I can handle this. Lo is not going, and having Lo as a model. So basically, Samantha is saying that Lo should not be a face for Callaway Couture because he went to rehab and he's an addict, and that would be a bad look for Callaway Couture. And Rose is like, this is ridiculous.
And it's one of those things too. I don't know if it's brought up in this chapter, but it's like Ben brought up, like, Samantha helped Rose start up Callaway Couture because she started when she was like, what, like 16? Like,
yeah, 15 or 16. I can't
so,
remember
like,
if it is in this or if it's in Kiss the Sky, but yes. Yeah. We'll just go with that. Yeah. Samantha did help her.
Yeah, and so now it's like she kind of like feels like she kind of like tricked Rose essentially, because she's like, okay, like I helped you start this business, like I should have a say in it. When like Rose is like, no, like it's mine.
Which is just a whole other reason why there's so many layers to why I don't like Samantha, because we talked about it in the Ricochet episode that it was like Rose doesn't have any power when she goes to the Fizzle Gala with this date that Samantha picked out for her, and Rose feels like he's a very inferior guy for me, and why would you ever try and set me up with a guy like that? And Samantha's like, well, we women don't have any power. And then like, and Rose is over here like trying to be this powerful business owner, and Samantha's still over here like, yeah, well, I still want to get my grubby hands in here anyway. And it's just like,
she's just so
don't like you.
Like everything she does for her children, like, is in the end, like, she wants it to benefit herself. Like, she wants to make herself look good.
Yeah, like anytime she tries to help them, it just feels transactional. Like,
Mhm.
what if I help you, I want something in return. Like, how will this benefit me? I want something in return for this. I don't like her. But yeah, so
Literally terrible.
Rose is very loyal to Lily and to Lo and is like, no, Lo is going to stay in this campaign, but Lo overheard everything and he's like it's such a sweet moment because it's Rose being so loyal and ready to defend Lo, and Lo being like, I don't want to, like, you can say all of these things, but I don't want to hurt you. And what Samantha says could hold actual weight, and I don't want to do that to you, and I'm going to drop out of this campaign. And it's like this little moment of they care for each other.
They do. Deep down.
Very deep down, they truly love each other. So Lo drops out, like, he's not going to work for Callaway Couture anymore, and they decide that they're going to go home. And it's really sweet when they leave because Lo gives Lily a piggyback.
Lily Lo piggybacks.
They're so cute. They are. That is like quintessential Lily and Lo pose.
Yes.
And it goes into the next chapter. There's a moment I don't remember. I think I picked it because I know that it happens. I didn't remember that it happened in this, but there's a moment where Lily holds on to Lo's belt loops. And this is something because a future couple kind of reminds me of Lily and Lo a lot. And when I did the illustrated covers, I was like, what's a pose that reminds me of Lily and Lo, and like a little homage to them. So there's a cover where one of the characters is holding on to her partner's belt loop. And it was because it was a little Lily and Lo nod. So I like this moment because I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. It came from this book. Yes. But so we get this sweet moment, and then it kind of goes to garbage because then we meet Mason Nix, who was a soccer player at Penn. And at first they don't recognize who he is. It takes them a moment, and then they realize that this was a guy that Lily slept with when they were at Penn, and she didn't just sleep with him, it was the entire soccer team. And like that was just a bad night, like probably not a good moment for Lily to do that. But Lo also got very upset. Like he could hear that people were talking about the fact that there was some girl sleeping with all of these soccer players. And I mean, at this point we know that Lo was very much in love with Lily, and for the most part they were together. They were fake dating, but it was basically like they were dating, they just didn't have the sex at this point. So it was out of jealousy. He goes and slashes every car that had like a soccer sticker or some identifier that they were on the soccer team. He slashed all of their tires and pissed all of them off.
Honestly,
Lo. I mean, he committed to it.
don't do that, but also.
Yeah, like intrusive thought, but also like, yeah, defend Lily's honor. I appreciate it. But yeah, so he slashed all of their tires, and when they talk with Mason, he like makes this comment, one where he was like, yeah, I've been thinking about you recently, which kind of like catches their attention because it's like, why were you thinking of Lily recently? And Lo is like really angry running into Mason, and Mason realizes that like, oh yeah, you were the guy that slashed our tires, and I don't like you because you slashed my tires.
Understandable.
Yeah, so it's like Lo does get physical with him, and it's a bad moment, and they leave.
Yeah, Lo ends up calling Reich, and this is the first time that we've seen him call Reich to like in the sense that like Reich is his sponsor, and he's like,
Yes.
I feel like I need to drink, please help me. And Reich is able to talk him off the ledge. And it's a moment that unfortunately happens a lot, you know, like he has to call him and ask for help, and it's the first time that we see it. And he's just the best brother.
I know. He's like, just give me a reason why I can't drink. And I love that Reich knows what's my reason for not drinking. It's Lily. Like, he invokes Lily's name, and that's all
Mm-hmm.
Lo needs to be like, you're right. I can't
Right.
drink because I love Lily. She's the number one reason why I'm not doing this anymore. And then I love this next chapter. I was flipping through and I had like half of this chapter highlighted because there are so many amazing quotes.
Yeah, it's such a good Lilo chapter. Like the quotes, the moments.
Yeah,
So good.
so Lo had told Lily to go in the house because he was struggling. Like, he wanted to drink, and he has this conversation with Rake in private. Lily is waiting in the house, but like, she's not an idiot and knows that, okay, he's struggling right now. And he had told her, like, go up to the room because they were going to have sex. That was the reason why they were going home in the first place. And he was like, yeah, just go up to the bedroom and wait for me to have, and we'll have sex after I finish talking. And she doesn't listen. She's like waiting right at the door because she loves him. She cares for him. And there's just, yeah, there's so much to this chapter. I don't know how to live without you. I don't want to know how. I don't want to find out. He's my very best friend. I want our love to be right. Like, it's just, yeah, it's a moment where the two of them are struggling, like, and they've come off a really, like, Lily was struggling to have sex. They left the office. They run into one of her old hookups and also someone that Lo had a bad moment with, and then Lo wants to drink. And it's just like this culmination of all of these horrible things that are happening to them. And it's so hard for them. Like, are we doing the right thing? Like, it's been really hard. We're only we're 15 chapters into the book at this point. So it's still very early on with them being back together. And it's just like, God, this is so hard for us. But like,
I know. And it's too like this was like after the fact that they left Callaway Couture and Lily was so compulsive and it was like, okay, her addiction is like kind of taking center stage right now.
yeah.
And like how fast it switched and Lily like immediately
Yeah.
like being so concerned and overwhelmed with Lo that it kind of is like she almost kind of forgets about herself in that moment too.
Yeah. It was like that flip of it was like Lily's moment of, I need to be there for Lo.
Mm-hmm.
Lo is my priority, not sex. And he's going to be the one that comes first because he's struggling right now. And I need to help. I need to be present and able to help him. But yeah, if the whole world is living without each other is what we should do, then this is the last wrong I make.
I could not live without Lo. He's as much a part of me as the sun is a part of the sky, as the earth is to the universe. Like bars, honestly. Like
The bar is set so high.
oh my god, I can't. I
They're
love them so
just,
much.
it's like, oh God, they're soulmates. Like, you cannot deny it. You read this chapter and you're like, oh my God, yeah. They
No
cannot.
other couple
No,
can
it does
ever
not.
compare.
No, it does not. They will never compare. Like, no one could be better for them than each other. And this chapter proves it. And then they have sex and it's pretty intense, and there's a part where Lily like reaffirms the fact that he's filling my every single need. He's taking care of me. Only Lo can satisfy every part of my all-consuming soul. He's truly my everything. So it was like another moment of, okay, yeah, soulmate. Like,
Yeah.
she was going out and searching for all of these guys to get her to this, like, how do I want to put this? I don't know. It was this thing of, can Lo be enough for her? She is a sex addict and she's had a lot of sex, and like, that's something that she needed to, like, when she was deep in her addiction, that was something that she needed, and Lo was able to fulfill that. Like, he was enough, and even when they're in recovery, he continues to be enough. It's this moment of, yes, he is her soulmate. He, like, this was what she was searching for. She doesn't need anybody else, and he proves the fact that she doesn't need anybody else. He's that thing, that person for her.
And even just the wording of that, like, only Lo can satisfy every part of my all-consuming soul, like, that made me think back to an Addicted to You, where, like, they get together for the first time.
Yes.
And she's like, I'm a lot, like, are you gonna be, and he's like, whatever, he's like, I'm, like, enough, like, big enough to take it or something.
Yes.
Like, I don't remember the exact quote, but I'm like, He's proving it.
Yes, he's very much proving it. And I love that. So then where are we? Okay, the next chapter is a joint session that they have with Dr. Banning. It's Lo's first time getting to meet Dr. Banning, and they're definitely stressed because, again, they're just so used to this idea that they shouldn't be together, that they're two addicts and they're codependent, and is this really a healthy relationship? And I love Dr. Banning, that she's like, no, you guys are like, it will be hard, but I don't believe the right solution is you two not being together. Like, this was something that Lily was also still struggling with in Ricochet when she first meets Dr. Banning, but now that Lo's back and they're like kind of getting into the groove and sharing with Dr. Banning what things have been like, would she still agree with that? And it's like, okay, yes, she does still agree. Good. Yes. And Lo is a bit snarky with her too. And I love it because, like, while he's being snarky with her, Lily is like elbowing him and being like, shut up. Like, I actually really love this therapist. She's fantastic and I value her opinion. And I love that, like, I love seeing how much Lily loves and respects Dr. Banning. And then Lo also, like, being able to witness, like, okay, so there is this professional that's out there and she's actually saying really encouraging words to Lily. And it means a lot to her to have a professional saying you're doing a good job and you're strong. And I love that.
I do love that his guard is immediately up, though. He's like, don't mess with her.
Yeah, no, he's just, despite the fact that she is literally she is a professional person here to help Lily, and he's like, can I trust you?
I'll believe it when
Are you actually going to help Lily? You really?
He's like, I'll make sure you do.
Yeah, you don't mess with me. Listen, I'm still the number one Lily helper, and you're number two, and you got to get behind me. We got to get in line here.
Know your place.
And yeah. So they also share their fears during this session. Lo's afraid that Lily is going to resent him because she could, like, he's going to keep telling her to stop having sex. And in theory, she could just go find someone who will constantly tell her yes. And Lily's afraid that he's going to feel like he's on a sex schedule and will be barred from his own pleasure and find someone else that can give him what he wants. And it's literally like, it's like the same, like, similar fears coming from different angles. I'm like, oh, God, you guys are so in sync, but like,
they're so in sync.
Like, don't be afraid. There is literally no way that you two are unhappy with each other for this, but the fact that you share these fears, like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So then next chapter it's a really short one, but it's like these little one-liners. So Lily takes her stats exam and she's like, I think they're going to meet with, no. She takes her stats exam, but she confesses to Lo that she cheated on the exam thanks to Sebastian, and like opens up about the blackmailing because Lo is always going to be involved in all of her secrets. Lo is right there next to her, holding onto the secret. But there's like this bit where she's got her sex brain going because I think he's like washing her hair or something, and he's like saying something butt, and she goes, I really love his butt, and he keeps talking and she's like, I lost you on butt. She's just so cute.
No, I do love that scene though, because she's like trying to wash her hair with like a hand soap. He's like, what are you doing? Like, let me help you.
Like, I can help you shower and like clean yourself for real. Hand soap is not right. We're not that low anymore. We were in the height of our addictions, and maybe I would have let you get away with that, but like, just use shampoo.
Yeah, it's so sweet though. Like,
it is so sweet.
Wash your hair.
Yeah. And like, I can't remember if it was in this moment. It might be another moment, but Lily's just like, you aren't turned on right now? Like, I'm so turned on by this. And he's like, oh, I've had plenty of practice, like, keeping it in when it comes to you.
He's like, I've been having to ignore my attraction for you for years. Like, if this is Like,
Yeah,
that was their problem.
Lily's over here like, oh my god, he's so hot, he's so sexy, and Lo's just like, you're not turned on by this?
Lord, I was washing my hair. I probably have the same reaction, so I don't blame her.
No, you were. Don't feel bad for it, Lily. He's just this weird special child over here being able to resist you, but like, you're not. You're totally normal for feeling that way.
Yes. You have people on your side. We get it.
Yeah. And so while they were talking about the fact that Sebastian is blackmailing Lily, again, they express guilt over the fact that, like, poor Connor, like, they can't help him because she needs to pass this exam or like pass this class, and they feel guilty because he is like their first real friend, because Reich and Rose, like, they're friends but they're also their siblings at this point, so it's like there is some built-in attachment with them, and Connor is that one person that's like, the friendship is what ties them together, and they feel guilty about that, but they believe in him, and like, they feel a little selfish for it, but they really, we're selfish in every sense of the word. I just don't want to fracture our friendships because of it, which I can't remember the exact quote from Addicted to You, but it was something like, we're so bad at certain, like, remembering birthdays and maintaining friendships, but the one thing we've always been good at is being together. But I really like that at this point they have started to work on holding on to friendships, and that this is something that they do want to keep working on, and they want to continue being friends with Connor, and I like that. I like that reminder.
It sucks that they feel remorse, obviously, like, it's a terrible situation to be put in, but like the fact that they do feel that remorse when, like, in the past, like, it wouldn't maybe have hit as hard, that they're like, you know what I mean? And it's like, okay, like, there's growth. We're growing. Yes,
you're right. This is a moment where we see that they are growing, and it's a small moment, but I do like that little reminder of that growth. So then next chapter, they're at Connor's place, and we get to meet another very important character, Miss Sadie Cobalt, who is Connor's cat. She's a little grouchy.
She hates women.
She does hate women. She is a woman-hating female cat. Only Connor.
Her so much.
Yes, but we love her. But they talk about, like, they're kind of catching up about what Connor's PI has kind of uncovered when it comes to who this anonymous texter could be, and it's like there's still barely any information that they know at this point, but they need to talk about the suspects. And so I think at this point their top suspects were Mason and Aaron. And we learn about why he treats Lily and Lo the way that he has in these past couple of books. So we get that backstory, which is basically that they met in school when they were in high school. And Aaron kind of, like, he didn't start out being unfriendly towards them.
No.
He tried. Yeah, he like tried. Yeah, he tries to reach out to them, invites them to a party, and Lily doesn't go, but Lo does, and he winds up smashing Aaron's, like, family's wine cellar. And that's just like, that pissed Aaron off and started their rivalry. And Lily says it was always sort of like this passive kind of rivalry where they didn't usually fight each other, but they did not like each other. And then when Lily and Lo started fake dating, when they were in their senior year, Aaron realized that he could get to Lo by going through Lily, which I think it's something that we see a lot. All of these people that don't like Lo, because he's kind of the one that has most of the enemies throughout the series, and everyone knows that the way to get to Lo is through Lily. I mean, yay! I love the fact that she is his priority, and like, but also don't like how easy it is, and don't like the fact that poor Lily has to suffer because of this.
Right.
But yeah, so
she is such an easy target too.
Yeah.
Like, it just it's another hard chapter to read. Like, all of these, like, flashbacks to them, like, being young and in high school, like, are always so difficult to read.
Yeah, I agree. They're going to their past. I always say that starting in Addicted to You is always really hard because I know how far they come and you'll have to go back and start at the beginning when they were at that low. But then like we get these flashback chapters and we go even further back and you're like, oh my God, this is even more painful.
Right. It's like, oh, it does get worse. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. They were at even lower points. Good.
Lived without that happening.
Yeah. So basically, Aaron torments Lily, and Lo finally learns about this, and like that's his straw. You don't mess with Lily. Yeah. Again, like that's just a thing. You never mess with Lily, or you will suffer the wrath of Lo. And he threatens Aaron's college career, and Aaron calls his bluff, and Lo calls the colleges that Aaron's dream colleges and gets them to revoke his acceptances. So Aaron's forced to go to a safety school. And thanks to the one chapter in Ricochet, we do learn that Jonathan was also helping Lo call the colleges and ruining Aaron's life. And in that chapter where Lo visits Aaron at the very beginning, we learn a little bit more about like how it's affected Aaron. He's kind of struggled to find jobs and internships because he does not have the kind of college career that his status is, like the status that he's kind of expected to have with his wealth and his status. And it's a hard chapter to read too, because it's like it sucks to see them so low, and Lo doesn't like that reminder of what his past behavior has been like. Like Lily's the one that tells this story too, so him having to listen to like, oh God, like this was the way I was behaving.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was drinking at this point, so I'm certain that didn't make my behavior any better at that point. It's hard for him to listen to.
I think it is too one of those instances where he sees like that he is like his father in that moment. Like Jonathan was like ready to be like, yeah, like let's ruin this kid's life.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, like I was acting like my father in this moment, and that is like the last thing that I want to be is like him.
Yeah, that's, again, it's so hard to talk about these early books without spoiling too much, but another theme that we will continue to revisit. But yeah, Lo acting like Jonathan is something that he is never proud of. So this leads into the next chapter of Lo really not enjoying the fact that he heard this, he's struggling, and Lily tries to distract him with, when they get home, like she watches TV. And I think somewhere in this chapter too, we also, Lo mentions what's actually on her blacklist. Which chapter is this? I didn't write down everything.
19?
I didn't write down everything that was on the list, but it's like no public sex, no masturbation,
no porn.
Yeah.
Stop when your partner stops.
Yeah.
Only engage in sex when you and your partner want to, and then in healthy amounts.
Yeah. So that's basically what Lily's blacklist is. So now we know. But then Lily tries to distract Lo with TV, and they still wind up having sex in the living room. And then Rose comes home. Poor Rose. And she walks in, and Lily and Lo are still in the aftermath of having sex in the living room. She's like, oh, God, this is what I get for living with my sister's boyfriend. Freaking Lo.
And he's like, this is our house. Like, this is not a public space. She goes, this is like public living quarters. Like, this is a public space.
I share this space with you. This is public.
Oh, shit, you're right.
Yeah. So Rose points out that, you're kind of breaking her blacklist by doing this in a public space. Like, you may not think it's public, but I feel like it's public. So Lo feels guilty for it. She's also upset because Connor is coming to stay, and I like these chapters because, again, we get some side character moments, and we kind of start to see this Rose and Connor's relationship and that sort of dynamic. And it's Connor staying over, and he's her boyfriend, so it's kind of like, why isn't Connor sleeping in Rose's bed? But like, we'll continue to learn that Rose has some intimacy things that she just has not reached with Connor at this point. And she wanted Connor to sleep on the sofa. And that's not an option anymore because Lily and Lo had sex on that sofa, and that's just not going to be a thing. And she's stressed about that.
And like deep clean that room. She's like, has
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. A Rose Calloway move is to like, that's going to be, I need every speck of Lo's DNA completely wiped from that.
Completely out of this room.
That's not allowed to happen. I will go out and buy another sofa if I have to. But yeah, so we kind of see Rose getting stressed out over this whole situation, which is something that will continue to be revisited. And then we get into the next chapter, which is there's a quick mention of, again, reiterating that they're trying not to do things that would cause them stress. So they're not going to the Sunday luncheons with Lily's parents, and Lo is staying away from his dad. Again, reiterating that these are kind of their triggers. But I think while Lily is sleeping, Lo picks up her phone and sees that she's got, I think it was 75 messages from this anonymous texter with all of these like calling her a whore and a slut, and it's so cruel. And like, I hate it because it's like, I don't like the fact that this anonymous texter is texting Lo and antagonizing him. But again, like, going to Lily, like, Lily is, she struggles to defend herself. And then, like, we just had this whole talk with Aaron going after her, and now we've got this anonymous texter also going after her and sending her 75 messages that are just so cruel. And I mean, we know who it is at this moment, and just knowing who the fuck it is doing this to her, like, I fucking hate you. You are...
Yeah, too, that like she's like getting all these messages and like this is him seeing them, like the fact that she's like nervous to like say anything about it to him because she doesn't want it to be a trigger to him, like that just ultimately like makes him feel more guilty.
Yeah, because she hasn't really opened up about the fact that, hello, by the way, I've been getting all of these messages. She's kind of just
the volume that they're coming in.
Yeah. So Lo, despite what we just said about them both staying away from triggers, Lo goes to his dad.
Going to Jonathan's, and when he's at Jonathan's, he ends up finding out the name of his actual birth mother, because up until this point, he was under the assumption that Sarah Hale was his birth mother. Right. That's not the case, because that was Reich's mom.
Yeah.
So Emily Moore is his birth mom.
Yes. Important name.
Yes. We will see her later on.
Yes.
But he, in this visit, ends up having to confess that, you know, Lily has this sex addiction. And Jonathan at first, like, doesn't take it seriously. He's like, what are you talking about?
Of course Jonathan's not going to take it seriously.
And then he's like, oh, like, that's really bad. Like, that would 100% like annihilate like the Calloway's company.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's your first thought.
I think it's interesting too, because if you sit and think about it, it's like, okay, well, Lo comes to Jonathan and says, I have an alcohol addiction. And Jonathan's like, who cares? Like, you're another rich kid, whatever. Just, it's fine. And his first thought isn't like, oh God, this is going to ruin the company. But for Jonathan to hear that Lily has a sex addiction and like, oh shit, oh shit. I think that's kind of a moment of like, oh, okay, so this is, Lily having the sex addiction is kind of like a really big deal. Yeah. If Jonathan thinks it's a big deal, then, oh God, maybe it is.
It must be really bad. But also too, like on that point, like the fact that he doesn't take the alcoholism seriously, I think it might, I'm sure it's harder for him to understand because, you know, like he also has alcohol issues.
Yeah.
And so I think that he looks at it through rose-colored glasses, like, well, okay, like it can't be that bad because I'm functioning and normal when he obviously is not.
Yeah, that's true.
So looking at this addiction, he's like, oh, like, yeah, that's bad because I'm not struggling with that. So, like,
Yeah.
that must be a really bad thing. So, yeah, he confides in his father because he's like, at this point, like, I need help. Like, Connor's PI isn't working. Like, we don't know who this person is. Like, I need your resources to help track down who this person is.
Yeah.
Because this is getting really bad.
Right. So they come up with a contract too, really quick, of you can't tell Greg. This truly, like, I love that Lo takes it so seriously too. Like, we're gonna put this in writing and we're gonna sign on this. And I need you to type this up and this be kind of a formal thing. You cannot tell anybody. That's how important keeping Lily's secret is.
And he's kind of like, are you serious? And he's like, oh, you're serious. Okay.
So Jonathan agrees that, yeah, he will help Lo find this anonymous texter. And that is the end of part 1 of Addicted for Now. So then we go into part 2, which is Lily, Rose, Lo, Reich, and Connor are all flying to Cancun for spring break, and Reich has brought his somewhat girlfriend, Melissa, who I have many thoughts on, but we'll get into it. And one of the things is they're taking a private jet to Cancun right now, and poor Lily is so hyper aware of the fact that Reich is in the bathroom having sex with Melissa, and she's like, I can't do anything. Like, this is public space. I just want to have sex, and Reich gets to have sex, and Melissa gets to have sex whenever she wants with her boyfriend, and I'm over here like, I can't do this, and I'm so jealous of her. But then they get to the hotel in Cancun, and we run into the first problem, which is that the room is, like, all of the rooms are double booked, and they had intended to all have private rooms, and they don't anymore. The only room that's available is a one single room with 2 queens and a pull-out couch, which means that is all public space, which stresses Lily out because that means this entire week she won't be able to have sex. So it's like this split-second decision of, are you going to try and remain celibate during this trip, which is like, spring break is a time for a lot of college kids to let loose. And I mean, she probably had plans to let loose a little bit, and she can't do that anymore. And Connor does offer, he's like, if you want, like, we can go anywhere. We have the money. Right. We can go to the Alps. We do not have to stay here. And I'm so proud of her because she's just like, no, I don't want to let my sex addiction run my life. I don't want it to affect everyone. Like, everyone is here too. I don't want everyone to have to change their plans because I need sex. So she decides that she's going to stick it out, which I'm proud of you, Lily, for that.
Yes. Big growth.
Yes, big growth moment. And then Connor asks her where their luggage is, and she had paid a bellhop who was not actually a bellhop, and he stole all of their suitcases.
I just think that moment's so funny too, because it's one of those moments where it's like, there are these like privileged people and they're like, oh yeah, this guy standing here is 100% a bellhop, like, he takes money. Like, it doesn't even occur to her that like this man is like trying to steal their luggage. She's like, oh yeah, like, this is what I do.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the way hotels work. There is a fancy dressed man here who says he'll take my luggage. Absolutely. Go ahead, have it. I'm not going to question this. Poor Lily.
Girl, she's trying.
She is trying.
You shouldn't have left me alone with the luggage anyway, like, to be fair.
Yeah, no, she's like, I struggle with responsibility. Like, I want to be responsible, Lily, but also, like, kind of on you guys for... It's a stressful situation, okay? Yeah, so they get into the room, and like it gets even worse because they don't even have a pull-out couch. They have to get a cot for someone to sleep on, which is just, and it's I think Rose and Connor get one of the beds, Lily and Lo get the other bed, and I think Reich and Melissa try and share this cot. And so like Melissa's already off on like a bad foot with this whole vacation.
She's under the impression that she's going on this trip to like basically have
sex
like
with
a
Reich.
Sex weekend.
Like, yeah, pretty much.
Right. And she's
like it was starting off so strong for her on the airplane.
Like, a nice private jet. And she's like, now I have to stay in this room with your family and friends. Like, what?
And I don't even get a bed. Like, what the fuck is this?
And he's like, well, you can have the cot. Like, I'll sleep on the couch. Like, always chivalrous. He's like, I'll take the couch.
I know. Reich would sleep on the floor. Let's be real.
Literally.
But yeah, so they're still struggling. Like Lily is struggling to sleep that night, just because this is a stressful situation for her. And she gets a text from this. She gets a message from the anonymous texter, and it specifically says like "Have fun in Cancun" or something like that, which is again terrifying because holy shit! Not only does this person know that I am a sex addict, they actually know my location at this point, and oh god, it just gives me the heebie-jeebies just knowing that there would be a person out there with my exact location. I don't like that.
Right. And like on my first time reading, because obviously like rereading, it's like you know who it is and you know how they had this information, but like reading it for the first time, you're like, oh my god,
yeah,
like that's terrifying.
Yeah. This book is like, this whole book, Addicted to You and Ricochet were just sort of like these, I want to say those were definitely a little more character driven books, just learning about their addictions and their recovery. And Addicted for Now gets a little more into the plot driven.
Right.
Like it's a little more plot driven, and it's just it's a big plot to go off of having this anonymous texter just like causing all of this tension. And
well, that's what I say to everyone too, because like I make it my goal in life to get everyone to read Krista and Becca's books, and I'm like, not that the first two books aren't important, because they so are, because you have to know all this background and character information to like fully appreciate and like get into the story. But like this book is really like when things start happening. This and, like, so once you get to book 3, like you are not going to want to stop.
Everything changes with this book, and like we are getting the first taste of that with this anonymous texter who is just causing me all kinds of stress, just being like, I know where you are, you don't know who I am, but I know your secret and I know your location, and that's just hella creepy. The next day they get a fun surprise.
Daisy gets to Cancun.
Daisy shows up.
My girl. I think this is kind of a big... Oh, go ahead.
No, well, I was just gonna say, like, I think at this point we haven't seen a lot of Daisy at this point, so this is like her first.
Hasn't been in the book so far at all.
Yeah, so like, we finally get to see Daisy.
Her was her birthday trip in Ricochet.
Yeah, satisfying moment.
Yes. And this is a big moment for Lo too, because you know he hasn't seen her in a hot second, like since before he went to rehab.
Right.
And he is like let into the bathroom, which he was very proud about, because all the girls were in the bathroom because Daisy brought all this clothes and makeup and stuff because they obviously lost their luggage. And Rose is like on cloud 9. She's like, thank God I have designer makeup, I have some clothes, like I'm ready to go.
I've got my hair straightener. I love my sister.
He's like, can I come in? And she's like, of course. I'm like, Rose is like,
absolutely, come join us.
She's like, look at all this stuff. No, but anyways, so Lo is looking at Daisy. He's like, oh my god, like Daisy's like grown up. Like,
yeah,
when did that happen?
Yeah.
And it's kind of a crazy moment because like she has, and 2, like he's listening to her talk and he's like, oh my god, like seeing it from this different perspective, like he's sober. And so it's just a big moment for him, and it really just like puts into perspective like how detached he's become, like through his addiction. Like he's missed out on so much stuff. And like listening to, you know, like Reich talk about Daisy, he's like, what are you talking about? Like she's nothing like that. Like I think that Reich says something like, he says something like, oh, like she's gonna be a handful or like something like that, and then Lo's like, no, like Daisy's like easy, like Daisy's low key. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like that's not the Daisy I know.
There's definitely like Reich and Connor there's a squeal and Lo doesn't know what it is, or Connor tells them that Daisy's shown up, and Lo's just sort of like, yeah, so what? And Connor and Reich are both sort of hesitant to have Daisy around, and Lo doesn't really understand their reaction to it. But I also
Lo goes, Daisy blends in, you won't even notice she's here. And then Reich goes, when's the last time you fucking seen her? And then Connor goes, Daisy doesn't blend.
Yeah. No, when Lo says that, as soon as you said that, I'm sitting here like, yeah, no, Daisy does not blend in.
Daisy does not blend. Like the Daisy you thought you knew.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Not the Daisy that's here now.
Yeah, it's very interesting because it was like you said, in Ricochet, we saw the moment where Lily sort of realizes how detached she was from her family and how much she doesn't know about her sister. And this is Lo's moment to realize that as well. But also, it's something that I can't talk about until later. But also, there's the whole moment of Lo's worried that he won't be able to go into the bathroom because it could so easily be that the sisters, like, they're grouped together as the girls, and now there are 3 guys too, so it's like guys, girls groups, and he gets let into the sister group, and it's like, it's a thing that Lo is almost like
an honorary Calloway sister.
Yeah, he's like another Calloway sister.
Yes.
And it's a thing that will continue. He will continue to intrude in the sister dynamic, and it's just a thing.
I just love that moment so much though, because he's like so nervous for a second. He's like, wait, like maybe things have changed, and Lily immediately grabs him.
Yeah, no, you get to come in, and he's sitting there grinning, and Reich and Connor are just like, we didn't get to go in.
Like, how did this happen for you and not us?
Yeah. So also in this chapter, we get to see a little bit of Daisy's playful side, where she bought them bathing suits, and she bought the guys bathing suits. She brought mankinis, and it's like she's trying to play this joke, and Lo almost takes it a little too serious. Like, you can't expect me to wear this, and like, come on, Daisy is sort of like, she's trying to be playful, and he's almost cutting her down with it. And as soon as she feels like he could be upset about this, she's like, she turns on her people pleasing mode, and she's like, I just wanted to play a joke. Like, I've got you normal bathing suits right here. I just thought it was funny. And poor Daisy, she's just like, she just wants to fit in a little bit. Like,
I know.
She's the younger sister, and it's just like a harmless little joke of, oh, I got you like this racy cut bathing suit, hoo, and like, oh, but if you are actually like really hurt by this, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
like, I have something.
You see how fast like she shuts down and like will second guess herself.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, baby,
we love you, Daisy. But I mean, Lo does like get back into it, so they decide to play a prank on Reich and tell him that the mankini, like, there is no extra bathing suit for him. He has to wear the bright pink mankini, and Reich just wears it with confidence. That is who Reich Meadows is. Like, okay. Yeah, fine, sure.
Sounds
good.
I'll
take that one.
Oh my god, I love him.
Yeah, and then we see kind of like a racy moment with Reich urging Daisy to eat. Like, I think they're going to get tacos, and she's sort of saying, no, I can't. I've got modeling, and I can't be gaining weight. And just, it's something that we continue to see. It's so quick, but it's Reich being like, no, I think you should eat. I think you should have a taco.
You wrote this down, but this was something that like really got to me when I was reading it. He was like trying to get her to eat the taco, and she was like, well, what will you give me if I eat the taco? Like, what will you do for me? And he goes, what do you want? And she pauses for a moment, and she's like, I don't know what I want.
Poor Daisy.
And that's just, it's gonna be like a bigger thing, like in upcoming books. But like when I read that, like was rereading and read that part, oh my god, like I just feel for her so hard.
Yeah, I do too. She's been through a lot, and we're starting to see more and more glimpses of Daisy, and we're getting that bigger, like, that picture is growing bigger of like what she's actually going through, and it's not all great. But she and Reich continue continue talking. She asks for a strawberry daiquiri, an alcoholic strawberry daiquiri, and it's like, I just don't like Melissa. And I love the way Daisy continues to get one up on her through this whole interaction. So there's like the first part where she asks for the daiquiri and Melissa's like, oh, well, I don't really support underage drinking. And like, that's just a bunch of bullshit. She just wants to cut Daisy down. And like, she's like, we're in America. Things are different here. And Daisy's like, we're actually in Mexico. And then later, Melissa goes to get the drink and she brings it back and she's like, oh, it was a translation error. I couldn't get you the alcohol. So it's a virgin daiquiri. And Daisy turns right to Reich and she goes, can you, like, how do you say, like, I want an alcoholic beverage? And Reich just like, whatever, fine. I will take care of it. And Melissa's over here like, what's going on? And Daisy's like, well, like Reich speaks fluent Spanish. Like, didn't you know that, Melissa? Just like all of these little things. And I'm like, yeah. Fuck you, Melissa. I don't like you. And I like Daisy. And I love Daisy getting one up on you.
Well, and I love that, like, Reich is not even paying any attention to Melissa.
Oh, yeah. He's just sort of like, give me the drink. Because Daisy, it was like a Daisy, I'm going to take care of it. And Reich's just like, give me the drink. I'm going to go take care of it.
He's like, get me away from her. Like, I need a break.
Yeah.
I'll go get the drink.
It's fine. I will take charge. Sure. So then we get into this really sweet chapter. I love this chapter. I think I made artwork for it one time. I was making artwork of Lily and I had done like this question box of send me some of your favorite Lily and Lowe chapters. And I think this one wound up being one of, like, obviously later books. There are some big chapters, but this was a big chapter that kept getting brought up. So Lily and Lowe are just taking a shower one day while they're in Cancun, and you're right. I think you said it's short and sweet, but
it's one of my favorite Lily and Lowe moments. They're showering together and they're gonna go on this like adventure day, and they're gonna go pet turtles, and they're debating about, like, well, first of all, Lily's like, I'm only gonna pet the cute ones. He's like, you're not gonna pet like the ugly ones, they're not gonna get any love from you. And she's like, you're right, like, I won't discriminate against the turtles. And then they like go into this whole like debate about like what a turtle's nose is called. Like, they're like, is it a muzzle, is it a snout, like what is it?
It's so innocent.
It's just this innocent, pure moment. And there's a quote in the chapter where Lily's like says something along the lines like, I just forget about everything right now. Like, this is such a good moment. I love it. It's just it shows just how innocent and like childlike they can still be.
Right. And it's so they have that, there's that moment. There's like a moment where Lily, I think it feels like a dream. I can't remember what it was exactly, but she's like, am I dreaming? And she goes and pinches Lowe and he's like, why are you pinching me? You're supposed to pinch yourself.
And she's like, oh, you're right, sorry.
See, don't do that. It's just, it's this moment of, we get a glimpse of what their life can be like if their addiction isn't fully running their lives. This is a moment where their addiction is not at the forefront of their mind, and they're not struggling with keeping, like, with holding back with their addictions. It's just this very easy, light day for them. And I love that they're able to have it and it not feel like a struggle for them. It's definitely a moment that they deserve after a lot of the drama that's already gone down in this book so far. But
the quote was, after a long moment, I realized that I'm okay, that I'm more excited about spending the day with him than I am about having sex. I don't know if I'll feel this way tomorrow, but today it feels nice.
Yeah, it feels so nice.
You just want them to be happy all the time. I'm like, can we have a day like this every day?
Yes, truly. So then the next chapter is Lowe and Reich on the beach. They're going for a run, and Daisy and Melissa are with them, and Lily, Rose, and Connor are off shopping. But we get this one quick moment of Reich being upset about Mason Nix. He's like, he's asking Lowe, like, why didn't you tell me about what was going on with Mason? Because, like, I go to school with him and I'm friendly with him, and he's such a dick. He was such a dick to Lily, and you clearly have problems with him. And it's a Reich loyalty moment of, I'm loyal to you and I don't want to be friendly to Mason. If we don't like him, then we don't like him and I'm gonna cut him out. Right. He just wants to be a good big brother.
I know. He's like, why was I being nice to him? You have to tell me these things.
Yeah, seriously.
Your enemies are my enemies.
Right. But then they catch Daisy trying to buy pendants from a vendor on the beach, and she's haggling with them, which is it turns into this whole thing of like, Daisy, you've got the money, and does she have it stuffed in her bathing suit top too? She has it
stuffed in her bikini top. And it's one of those moments where it's like, I understand, like, where, like, I can understand, like, from her perspective, like, she might not truly, like, I don't think she was even thinking about it, like, in the sense of, like, oh, I'm so privileged. Like, it was her just wanting to be, like, silly and fun. And, like, I don't have Samantha, like, breathing down my neck. Like, I'm gonna just be fun and flirty.
Yeah, it's a thing. Like, there are plenty of foreign countries where you go and you haggle for some cheap little trinket, and I want that. I want to be that normal person, and this is a moment where my mom's not here trying to remind me that I am not normal. Let me be normal. And Reich and Lo are both like, no, we're gonna shut this down right now.
Yeah. Well, she starts like trying to flirt with Lo. She's like, "Oh, my husband!" Like, da 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 da.
Oh yeah.
And Reich is like, "No,
what is this?
Absolutely not." He's like, "Give me your money.
I'm gonna pay this man."
But yeah, no, I'm such a Razy lover. Like, I love them so much, and this is one of those moments where Reich is just saying how he sees so much of his younger self in Daisy, in the sense that like she just wants to please everyone around her and wants to please her mother. Yeah. And like that was so much of like his growing up. Like, he wanted to make his mom happy, and like he was trying to have this relationship with his dad, and he didn't like his dad, and it's like, you like you're erasing so much of your identity to like fit into the mold that people want you to be, and like I don't want you to do that. And it just shows how much he sees her as a person, where everyone else like it doesn't like cross their mind. And it shows us like from the beginning like how in tune he is with her. My heart's not strong enough.
Yeah,
like I love her so much.
It's a good Razy chapter.
Like, if Razy has no fans, I am dead. Like, I defend them to the death.
I love that. Yeah. So then we find out that while they were on the beach, Lily again was out with Rose and Connor, and she had accidentally orgasmed. Like, she was fantasizing about something and orgasmed by herself, and Rose and Connor heard her. And like, poor Lily, like, to know that her sister, and like, one, that she did it, and then that her sister and her boyfriend heard. Oh, it's just the stab in the heart. Like, coming off of they had that good day, and having this lower moment for her, it's just this up and down. Like, which, I mean, it's a good reminder that their recovery is not going to be some linear thing, and they're going to have setbacks, but it's just like, poor Lily.
Even too, like, I feel like the shame that she must feel being like, I didn't do it on purpose. Like, I was trying so hard, and like, I would just, if it were me, like, I would feel so defeated in that moment.
Yeah.
Like, I've been trying so hard. I'm trying not to give in, and like, it happened anyway.
Yeah, and it's just, I would see it as something scary too, because it was like, I orgasmed because I was fantasizing. Like, in my head, am I not safe from my own thoughts and just like what's in my brain? That's kind of a terrifying thought.
100%. No, I would feel the same way. So anyway, Lo finds out about this. He's talking to Lily, and he is just being so supportive and reassuring. And after the conversation, Lily just ends up finding so much strength in herself, and she allows him to comfort her. Like, she almost like is like, don't touch me, like I'm dirty, like I'm not safe. And he's like, no, like I'm going to touch you, I'm gonna hug you, like I'm going to be here for you. And it's a really emotional chapter.
It is emotional, and it's because I think she had talked with Dr. Banning too, and there was this moment of like, listen, Lo's gonna want to comfort you, and you also have to recognize that he's going to touch you and it's not going to lead to anything. Like, this is a moment of, we can kind of see the paths that Lily's brain would take versus what a like quote unquote normal person's brain would take. Of this guy's like, Lois just going to show you affection by touching you, and it's not some path to sex, and you have to understand that. And it's an interesting thing to point out that like a hug is just a hug. He just wants to be there for you, and you need to just let that happen. And she does do a good job of like bracing herself, like understanding that fact and letting him do it. And there's that moment, is this your new superpower, Lily Calloway? I can touch you without feeling guilty.
I really can't deal with it. I can't handle it.
Yeah, and she's like, it may not last forever, but I'll enjoy it for now. It's like,
the for now is what.
Yep.
I can't. Every single one of these books, when the title drops in.
Oh yeah.
It's like my favorite thing ever. Like in any book, but like these books specifically, because they're all so meaningful.
Pluck that eye. Oh yeah. It's just Oh, so good. So it's okay. So the next chapter is just like a really quick chapter about Lily and Lo kind of talking about what happened with Reich and Daisy. Like, Lily has been over here watching Reich and Daisy interact since Lo was in rehab, and she's been on her own kind of like, what's going on? Like, are they truly being friends? Like, what's happening with this dynamic? And Lo's over here like, yeah, no, I've been witnessing the same things. And Lily's like, oh, okay. So it's not just me. Cool.
No, it's so funny. She's like, wait, so I'm not the only one that sees this? Like, this is just my mind? He's like, no. And she's like, oh, okay. She's like, what are we going to do about that?
Yeah, no, they're trying. Yeah, so it's like, what are we going to do about the fact that they're becoming friends? And like, it's happening now because they're on vacation, but like, truly, what is it going to look like when we go back to Philly? And I mean, really, how do their circles cross? So do we need to make this a bigger deal?
Right. I don't know if we brought up the age gap, but that's like what the big point of contention is.
Yeah.
He's 16 and he's what, 22, 21 at this point?
I think he's 22 or 23. I think he's 20. Like yeah. If Connor mentions his age.
7-year age gap?
Yeah. There's a 7-year. I don't know. I think it's a 6 to 7-year age gap, depending on what time of year.
Math in my head.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why they're like, oh.
Yeah.
And like, there's so many variables, but the age gap, like, that's Lily's little sister. It's my older brother. Like, there's so much that goes into it.
There's a lot of layers to this, and like, so it's your little sister, my older brother. Also, that's Samantha's daughter and Sarah Hale's son, and they don't like each other either. And there's just a lot of dynamics and layers going on to this that just, it could cause problems. So then the next chapter, they go to the Mexican restaurant, and it's Lo asks Daisy about like what Samantha thinks of her being in Cancun, and we see a little more of like what Daisy, again, we get this bigger picture of what Daisy's life is like, that Samantha doesn't necessarily care that her 16-year-old daughter is hanging out with a bunch, not just her siblings, but like she's in Cancun and there are, I'm certain, thousands of rowdy college kids that she is around right now. And Samantha's just like, yeah, sure, whatever. You're going to go bond with your sisters. Okay, fine. But also, you got to stick to your rules, and you can't get fat, and like take care of your body, and your like, because that's your whole thing, is your body is some commodity, and make sure you keep that all good. But yeah, otherwise I don't care. And it's just, oh God, again, I hate Samantha.
Literally the worst. It's like, oh yeah, you can run off during college spring break week in Cancun, like you're 16, like that's fine, but like, don't eat any tacos, no chocolate for you,
right?
Like none of that. Drink, that's fine. Um,
Right. It's just,
nothing else.
and then we get this moment of Daisy. One, there's Daisy going, "Well, I have this theory about kissing," and I'm like, "Oh, Daisy and her theories." But then she kind of overshares about what Reich told her on the trip to Cancun, which is basically that she shouldn't let any guy have sex with her unless he gets her off twice. And oh boy, just it pissed off a lot of the table. Rose is mad. Lo is mad. Melissa slaps Reich. She's mad.
And honestly, like, I hate Melissa, but in that moment, I'm like, if I was on this trip with this guy, and I'm hearing from like this other girl that he's giving her, I'd be mad too.
Yeah. I mean, fair enough. Like, Melissa is just not having the trip that she thought she'd be having at this point.
Like, honestly, poor girl.
Yeah, because I think in like one of the other chapters too, she was busy trying to get Reich to go back up to the hotel room to have sex, like while it was empty, and Reich's rebuffing her the whole time. Like, this girl is just
not having it.
Yeah, no. And yeah, so they all leave the restaurant, and Lo brings his food to go with him, and he eats some of it and then has this horrible reaction, like, pull over the car, I need to throw up. And everyone's like, okay, they understand that what happened was this is the antabuse, like, this is the effect of the antabuse. He's throwing up because he had alcohol. But they all jumped to the worst conclusion of he went and got an actual cup and drank alcohol. And Lo's over here like, I didn't do that. Like, and we figure out that it was because the taco, I think it was a taco that he ate.
Yeah, it was like a fish taco, and it had like alcohol.
Yeah, the fish. Yeah,
right. Like somehow, like I don't know,
beer battered or something like that.
It was something. There was alcohol in it.
Yeah, poor Lo. The taco betrayed him.
I know, king of tacos, and he's like, of course that would happen.
Yeah.
So the next chapter is kind of the aftermath of all of that. Lily was up with Lo all night because he was sick, and they're getting ready to go out the next morning, and Reich comes into the bathroom, and he's asking Lo, he's like, did you take your pill? And Lo's like, yeah, I took my pill. And then Reich takes his pill bottle and dumps it out and starts counting all of the pills. And Lily and Lo were like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, you didn't take it. Like, he counts and he realizes that he didn't take it. And it causes this huge blow up.
Yeah.
And
because it's one of those things, again, where Lo is just not used to having someone be this in his business. And this is so very clearly a moment of Reich being in his business. I'm counting your pills. Yeah. But it's also yeah,
it's just this huge blow up, and there's this line where Lo's like, you guys don't get it, and Lily's like, what do you mean I don't get it? Like, we're going through like this together. Like, if anyone understands how you're feeling right now, it's me. And
yeah, I think because she also says in that moment too, like, if I had a pill that helped me stop thinking about sex, I think I would take it.
I would probably take it.
Yeah.
And
so they convince him. No, you're fine. Basically they convince him that he needs to take the pill. Like, he'll continue doing it because he was hesitant to take it because it was this moment of like, it was a moment of realization for Lo that like, I ate a shitty taco and I still wound up super sick. And Reich is like, well, you need to check the ingredients. Like, that's something that you have to do. And Lo's like, I don't want to live my life having to constantly check an ingredient list to know what's safe for me to drink. And there's like this moment of feeling confined. And I get that. I don't have the same problem, but I'm currently I'm on this diet where I also have to keep an eye on ingredient lists, and it makes me so angry going to the grocery store now. So I get it, Lo. It's hard, and I don't like being on it, but I do think it's important that he's on it.
No, and similar to what you're saying, like I feel so much for him in this moment, like being someone that is on a lot of medications. It can feel just like, oh, like this is the rest of my life,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And I can understand, like he says something along the lines like, I didn't even get to experience like the high of drinking, and I'm still feeling this way. So like, what's the point?
Right. Oh.
And it's a moment that I just really relate to him in that moment. I'm like, yeah, like it's difficult to, like, when you look at it in that perspective, like this is something I'm going to deal with forever.
Okay. So then the next chapter, they go to an outdoor concert, and one of the things really quick that happens at the beginning of that, it's not like the most important part of this chapter, but they're all sitting up on these guys' they're sitting on all the guys' shoulders. Daisy's sitting on a random guy's shoulder because she's like that +1. And yeah, and the DJ's like, girls, show your titties, and a lot of girls do, and Daisy almost does. Like, I love Lily smacking low, like, get me down. Oh my god, there's a lot of boobs right now. I can't take this. So Lo sets her down. Daisy's over here like, I might do it, and everyone yells at her, don't do that. She gets down and she talks with this guy, and then he slaps her ass and she walks away, and everyone's like, Daisy, what the hell was that? And she's like smiling it off like, oh no, he was just being friendly. And they're like, he was literally putting his hand down your butt, like down your bikini bottom.
Yeah.
And like, not cool. I don't think you really consented to that. He was absolutely just feeling you up because you're just this beautiful girl, and speak up for yourself. And she's just sort of like, what do you mean? That wasn't that bad. And it's like this disconnect. We see this is like the start of her disconnect with her body and like being physically treated correctly, and she doesn't always recognize that.
Yeah.
Because again, her body is a commodity, and she does not recognize that.
Yeah, and it's like Rose and Lily like immediately like look at each other and they're like, yeah, we have to have a sister talk right now. Like, let's go.
Poor Daisy. These books are just, a lot of these books are filled with all of these little like side character moments that are just like building up to the rest of the books. And every time I reread, I'm like, oh yeah, I see it. I'm seeing the start of it. I'm always so impressed with how far in advance we're starting to see all of these little bits coming in. I'm just like, oh, it's so good. But yeah, so they have their sister talk. Yeah. So they have their sister talk, and Poppy calls Lily, and Lily hangs up on her. She's like, oh, it's Poppy, and ignores the phone call. And poor Daisy's just like, is that what you do when I call you? You ignore me?
That was such a hard moment to read. And it's because Lily's too, she's like, I want to confide in her. Like, this is the moment. Like, this is when I'm going to tell her.
Yeah.
Like, and then she doesn't do it.
Yeah, she's still struggling. Like, because Daisy, again, still doesn't know about her sex addiction. It's like there's just this barrier that she has with her sister right now. And it's hard for her, because I think at this point, like, she's not deep in her addiction, so she can kind of recognize that there is this disconnect with my sister, but I still don't necessarily know how to cross it.
Right. Yeah,
and
she kind of said something too along the lines of like, because there is like a significant age gap. There's like a 6-year age gap or something between like her and Daisy.
Yeah. I think it's a 6-year age gap between. Yeah, I can't remember. There's a big age gap between them.
Yeah. But she kind of says something like, it might be too late for me to like make that connection, like repair the bond between Poppy and I, but like it's not too late for Daisy and I. Like, I want to be a better sister and like fix that.
Yes. Yeah. It's okay. It'll happen. I know the future. I have my magic ball and I can see the future. It's full of love and joy. Don't worry. We just have to push through this harder moment. But then, so Poppy is very persistent, and she calls Rose and gets Lily on the line that way. And we find out that somebody sent a package to Greg and Samantha's house in Villanova, which again, like, it's just going so hard after Lily, because we discovered it's the anonymous texter. They sent her a dildo and like here's something for you to hump or something like that. And it's just, they're going so hard after Lily that they are sending it to her parents' house knowing that she's in Cancun. And they just want her secret to be uncovered so badly. And thank you, Poppy, for catching that. Like, oh
No,
God,
literally.
I can only imagine what would happen if Samantha opened that package. But
major big sister moment.
yeah. But it is like, we're just getting more and more of these moments, and it's starting to really unnerve Lily. We get another short chapter where Jonathan sends Lo Emily Moore's address. So now we know where Emily is. She's up in Caribou, Maine. And Lo confesses to Jonathan that like this guy's escalating and you need to crack down on this, because they're going to Greg and Samantha at this point, and if Poppy hadn't caught it, like Greg and Samantha would have found out at this point, and it's very important that they don't find out. And it's just, we're starting to see all of it starting to escalate. Like we're getting to that point on the whatever story, the story structure. Thing. Yeah, we're yes. I can feel us getting to that.
Peak.
I don't like it, but we're getting there. Yeah, but so the next chapter, they go clubbing, and all of the Calloway sisters have decided that they want to let loose. They're gonna drink and dance, and the guys are all watching from up above on this balcony. And there's a moment where Lo lets it slip that Rose is a virgin, and Connor did not know, and says that like Rose tried to make it seem to Connor that she had actually slept with some guy. Yes. And yeah, now he's realizing that she played him.
Yeah. And it's I love this like moment with Lo though, because he immediately like goes to Rose's defense.
Yes. And yeah, he's like, she's like, not a fucking leper.
Right. Yes. I love that line. And so he immediately goes to her defense, and Connor's like, I'm not upset at all that she's a virgin. He's like, what I'm upset about is that she didn't tell me. And he's like, and I thought that we were at a point where she would feel comfortable enough to tell me. So the fact that we're not is like where my issue is.
Yeah. I think this is an interesting moment of laying the foundation. Because like the way Krista and Becca wrote these books was that Lily and Lo have 5 books called the Addicted series, and then Rose and Daisy have a separate series called the Calloway Sister series. But like they're recommended, read them all in publishing order, so we can start to see them that they're laying this foundation for leading into Rose and Connor's book, which is coming next. And it's this moment of seeing that we see where their book is probably going to take them, that Rose and Connor are not necessarily on the same page when it comes to some bigger moments in their relationship, and just getting that foundation laid out now. I like catching those moments.
Yes. There's so many little Easter eggs for Kiss the Sky, like towards the second half of the book.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it's like,
I love it. Yeah. So then, so good. So good. All of these Easter egg hunting is my favorite thing when rereading these books.
So many in here. Like I had like
so many.
I annotated the hell out of this book for this reread, and there's so many foreshadowing moments. I'm like, oh my goodness.
It's just so good. Yes.
They're so smart.
I want everyone to prepare for when we get to the later books and also into the Leica series, that like half of what I have to say is all of these Easter eggs that I've caught along the way. And I'm just like, I have so much to say. I have to keep it all back because we're too early in the series. But
the parallels and Easter eggs down the line are insane.
Top tier. Yeah. So then we get this moment of Lo's watching as the girls are dancing, and this guy comes up to Lily, and like obviously it's not Lo dancing with her, and she's uncomfortable, and she like tries to get him away from him. Daisy helps her, and they're like, all the guys are watching this moment, and it's like, do you trust? can't remember who asked. Connor asks Lo,
Yes.
do you trust Lily? Like, Lo kind of describes his thought process of like, well, like, I've lived more of my life seeing her with other men than I have with her being with me. And there's like this part of me that I don't think I would understand if she did cheat on me. It would suck, but I understand if that's more her natural inclination is to just find sex with whomever will give it to her. And Reich has this moment. It was a Roman Empire moment. Someone submitted this, and it was also the quote that I wound up using when I posted my favorite quotes from each book. I think this was the quote that I wound up using from this book. But Reich's like, because I think she loves you more than she loves sex, and you love her more than you love alcohol, but you two just haven't let yourselves believe it yet. And I love it because it's this reflection of that moment in Addicted to You where they were saying like, I want to reach that point. At this point, we're not there yet. I still love alcohol. Like, alcohol's number one, sex is number one for you, but I want to reach that point where you're number one. They've reached that point. Like, they hit their rock bottom, and they're they're trying their hardest to make each other their priority and not their addictions. And they do love each other more than their addictions, but it's like a really hard, bumpy road. And some of their struggles, I guess, are clouding the fact that they are reaching that moment. They have reached that moment, and they just need to recognize that you have there has been a lot of growth, even just across these last 2.5 books. And yeah, I love that moment.
It's such a good quote.
It is a good quote. But then at the end of that chapter, we see that Daisy and Rose are drinking blue absinthe, and they're pretty certain they don't realize that they're drinking the blue absinthe. And Connor points out that it has hallucinogenic properties and probably not something that they should be drinking right now.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too because Lo's like, they're drinking like absinthe, and Connor, Connor doesn't realize it right off the bat, and he's like, oh shit, like if Connor doesn't realize it, like there's no way Rose knows what this is.
Oh, yeah. Lo being the alcohol expert over here.
Literally, he's like, wait, so I'm actually the expert in this field? Like, you guys might be smarter than me for everything else, but like, I do have this one up on you.
Yeah.
Like, probably not the best thing to like, be the expert in knowledge.
Yeah, maybe not, but you know what? Okay.
Like a little bit king of petty. He's like, there's no way Rose knows if Connor doesn't know, and I know.
Right. So then the next chapter is Lily. So like the crowd goes crazy, and they have the superheroes that are up on some stage, and they go flying, like they all go flying off the stage. And Lily's getting jostled around, but like even though her sisters are off drinking, like who knows what, she's like, Captain America doesn't fly? What's going on right now?
Lo, is he seeing this?
Yeah, like this is not canon. This is not in the universe. This is very wrong. Oh, she just has these little moments where it's like, you are so precious. Lily, I love you.
Funny.
But yeah, so she gets jostled and falls, and Lo comes to rescue her, and Connor comes to rescue Rose, and they all like meet up, and they realize that nobody went to get Daisy. Like Lo had told Reich, I'm gonna take care of Daisy, because again, he's like trying his hardest to keep Reich's distance. From Daisy, and he was like, I'm gonna take care of her. She's my girlfriend's little sister. I'm the one who's in charge of her. But then Lily falls. Lily is Lo's priority, so he went to her first. Yeah. And they lost Daisy. And Melissa is like, who cares? I didn't come to Mexico to babysit. And this is basically the end of Reich and Melissa, because he's like, well, then fucking leave. I am not the kind of person that's going to let some girl get lost drunk in Mexico by herself. Right. That's not who I am. Lily and Lo ask Reich, please help us find Daisy. And he's like, well, I'm going to help you, but you can't get on me about my friendship with her. Like, you got to stop that. And they do agree. And they find Daisy. She's in an employee room trying to jump out. I can't remember if it was like a picture of a window
It's
or
like a poster or a
yeah.
picture, and she's like, "These windows aren't real. Like, I can't get
Right.
out." Oh my god, I hate
It's
reading this
so
chapter
hard
so
because yeah. So basically, Wright comes to get her. She's like trying to leave out of something that she can't actually leave, and then as soon as they get to her and they're like, "Daisy, we're here now," it starts to hit her like how out of
Mhm.
control she was, and we see how scared Daisy gets when she comes to this realization that she was so vulnerable and so alone. Uh,
Yeah. There
uh,
was this quote I wanted to pull up
mhm.
from that moment. So it's Lily's POV, and she goes, "A spike of fear breaches her voice. She knows she's not completely coherent, and she was all alone. My fearless, daring little sister is afraid because this was not her choosing." And that is something that like it hits, but it's something like too like the fact that like that wasn't her choice. Like that's something that's gonna like play a big role in a lot of the things that she faces
Yeah.
later in other books. And so reading that, I was like, oh my god, like poor girl.
Yeah, it's another again, we're just laying all the foundations, and this is another foundational moment for Daisy's book. I'm sorry if I'm distracted to all of the listeners and watchers. My dog came into the room,
Hey
and she
Phoebe.
requires a lot of attention. I'm still paying. She requires a lot of attention, but I'm working through it. I'm paying attention. Okay, so yeah, so we end that chapter with Daisy's rescued. Yeah, she was scared. And then we get into basically the peak of the story structure. Yeah, and it's so hard to reread because there are a lot of hard moments in all of these books, and just they are so hard. And knowing that they're coming, it's like, can I just skip over this bit? Can we just pretend this doesn't actually happen?
Like the start of
Um,
this chapter, my stomach's like immediately in knots. I'm like,
yeah,
I like you're just waiting for it to happen and you're like, oh my god, like
yeah,
it's like such anxiety.
yeah. Because again, it's like it's a really mean moment of and really mean reminder of how again this whole thing is not going to be a linear process, and they're going to have ups and downs, and she had her up, so she's basically celebrating. They're leaving Cancun, and she's celebrating the fact that she celibate that entire week.
Mhm.
And that's a big thing for her, especially in the environment that she was in.
Mhm.
And while they are flying home, we find out that her sex addiction was leaked to the public, and it's
And the
so
way
hard. Just listening to the headlines and the newscasters like
Mhm.
reporting it hurts me so much. I
the
hate it.
way that the chapter is formatted though too, like so they're flying home and Lily and Lo are like listening to Reich and Daisy, like they're playing, like what are they
Hmm.
doing? They're
I think
gambling,
they're playing poker.
something like that.
Yeah.
And so they're which there's a lot going on there too, but they're listening
Yeah.
to it, and then like Connor is like, "Lo, like, can you come over here?" And he's like, in a second, he's like, "No, like now would be
That'd be
ideal.
good.
You come over here." And so then Lily's like on high alert, and she's kind of like splitting her attention between like Reich and
Yeah.
Daisy and Lo and Connor. And like as the reader, like like something bad's about to happen.
Yes. And you're almost tricked into because she's seeing Lo and Connor talking, and Lo is covering his face and looking hurt, and she's like, okay, this is something bad with him.
Mm-hmm.
Um something that's hurting him. So we're all almost led to believe that he's got bad
Yeah.
news. And then we find out, no, just hurting Lily will hurt Lo.
And that like that's her first like thought too, that it's about him. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't even cross her mind that like this is about me.
Yeah, and so Lily winds up like flipping through the channels to kind of distract herself, and she stops on a news channel that is reporting on this. And that's how she finds out. It's not even like a family member can break it to her. She has to hear it straight from the media. Just, I hate it. And it's awful. I hurt for her because like she's tried so hard to keep this secret, and they've been doing everything they can, and she's trying to be healthy, but like she's like trying, it's like she's in this boat and it is overflowing, and she's trying to like trying to cover up all the holes that are leaking, and it just gets to this point where she can't do it anymore. Like it just, this one hole is unable to be patched, and it's all out there. And so I'm feeling for her, but then they start talking about Lo and like start painting him as this poor bastard because they I think they were maybe interviewing Mason, and it comes up that Lily is in a relationship with Lo, but they had an open relationship, so she was sleeping around with everybody
and cheating on her the whole time.
Yeah. Lily's over here like, I'm so sorry, like apologizing to Lo about this situation that's impacting her, and it's, oh, Lily.
No, and it's so hard too because you know they spent all this time like trying so desperately to like keep it a secret, and they open up, and like in the end, like it was something like this isn't even like they couldn't have even comprehended that like this is where this would have gone.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Like they thought the worst was over and like telling people.
Right. Yeah. And we'll start to see more of how the media takes things, and it gets worse. Like it's, you thought just the secret being out there would be, oh God, we've got through it, but the media just sucks and they twist things, and we start to see how this is the start. This is truly the start of the Addicted series, and we see a lot more of the media and what, yeah, we don't like them, and we'll see more of how they will just twist words and situations and bring chaos a little bit to their lives.
A little bit, a lot of it, you know.
Yeah. And then also in this chapter, one of the things too that hurts me is like, so Connor's on the phone. Lo says he's going to go call his therapist. Reich's getting a call from Sarah, but he's ignoring her. And I think Rose was asleep.
Rose is asleep.
Yeah, she was hungover from the night before. Yeah. Rose is asleep this entire time. But Daisy gets a call from Samantha, and Lily's like not getting everyone's calling people, and she like the one person who's actually affected by all of this doesn't even, like, she's not even granted the courtesy of a phone call from anybody. Like,
well, and even to put it in perspective, they're in the air right now. Like they are on a plane.
Yeah, like it's like, hard for
nothing they can do right now.
Right. Yeah, but so then we see a moment of Daisy on the phone with Samantha, and Samantha is like, I think Samantha wants to talk to Lily, but Daisy's saying no, which, like, fuck you, Samantha. You have your daughter's number. You couldn't even call her. You have to call Daisy to try and
That's such a good point. I didn't even think about that.
Try and speak to Lily that way, but Daisy's trying to say no, and she's struggling, and then Rose comes in and is like, no, mother, no. And it's, again, just a small moment of seeing Daisy's struggle with being that yes kid to her mom. She's really struggling to tell Samantha, like, set boundaries with Samantha right now. But yeah.
And
so then
that moment is like emphasized too by Lily, like that Rose is immediately able to say no.
Right.
And like Daisy's like trying so hard and just like can't tell her no.
Yeah, Lily also recognizes it. Yeah, she does call that out. But then she and Reich play Go Fish, which is just like, it's not a two-person game, but
I can't. I'm like gonna cry.
All right. So Go Fish is also something we'll see again. We will revisit this. But yeah, so
oh my gosh.
Yeah, because he's like, I don't want to talk to my mom right now. Like, my mom's trying to call me and I don't want to talk to her, so let's just play a game. And she's like, Go Fish. And he's like, this is so okay, fine. Sure, let's play Go Fish.
I know, the fact that he's like, really? He's like, okay, you know what? Fine.
Yeah, you know what? You're having a moment.
Whatever you want.
I respect this. Okay. Yeah. And then so while that's happening, we also find out that when Lo said he was going to call his therapist, he actually called Jonathan, and he's questioning Jonathan, like, did you fucking like, because at this point, we still don't know who the anonymous texter is.
Yeah.
Like, it's been revealed that Lily is a sex addict, but they have not said who the source was at this point. They've just been able to contact all of Lily's old exes to kind of confirm the fact that she's had upwards of 100 plus partners at this point, sexual partners, but we don't know who was the person that actually told it. So like Lo's still trying to get to the bottom of like, what is happening? How did this get leaked? I told Jonathan a week ago, and all of a sudden the news
Now
is out
shit
there.
hit
Like,
the fan. So,
yeah, did you tell them? So we're still trying to figure out who the hell this anonymous texter is. But there's also a moment of he's sitting here like, this is so hard. Like,
this is what, like, I cry every time I read it.
he realizes that, like, this is a moment. I could be drunk right now. I could be in a bar, or I could be in rehab. I could be not able to get to Lily right now, but I'm not. I am sober and I am here. So he goes, like, he's going to go be with Lily. And I love that we got that moment at the beginning of the book where he was like, I wasn't there for her when she was assaulted, and that was my low moment, and I'm getting my, like, this is that repeat that lets me redeem myself. And yeah, I'm gonna take that opportunity and I'm gonna go redeem myself and be with her.
Just to backtrack so slightly, there's a moment when they're playing Go Fish too that like really gets me, like towards the end. And Lily's like, I need you to promise me you'll be there for him, like referring to Lo.
Yes.
And Reich is like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you're gonna be there for him. And she's like, but if I'm not, he's like, no, stop that right now, like shut it down. And that is like, it hurts me so hard to read that.
It hurts because it's like, you get so scared of, I don't know if at this point it's talked about like what Samantha and Greg's reactions would be to hearing that she's a sex addict and how they would try and handle this whole situation. But you start to, like, at least at this moment, we get this sense of Lily is so fearful of what could happen, and you get scared because it's like, okay, well, yeah, we still don't know. Like, we haven't talked to Greg and Samantha yet, and we don't know what they're going to say. And yeah, they could be ripped apart again. This is super scary. So we have that on the one hand, and then we have it on the other hand that Reich is like, you're going to be there. Like, this was the man who at one point was like, you guys are so bad for each other and you need to, like, I really don't think you two should be together. Yeah. Only a couple months ago, he was talking about it like this. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You two are going to be together.
Well, and I love that everyone is so on the same page. Like, rehab is not going to work for you.
Yes.
Like, don't go. Like, if your parents tell you to go, like, you're going to tell them no. Like, you are going to be here. You are going to be here for him. Like, we are all going to back you.
Right. I do love that our little group is very much
Course 6 is rising
in the same headspace of what their recoveries what Lily and Lo's recoveries should look like. Yeah. Yeah, so that is the end of part 2, and we will return to discuss part 3 next week. So this is the end of part 1 of the Addicted for Now discussion. So thank you for listening, and until next time, continue to stay addicted to Krista and Becca's writing like us.